one of the interesting histories that hasn't always been nice or rosy has been the history of Nintendo and esports. And when I say Nintendo and esports, I'm primarily talking about Smash. And if we look back through history, we saw the importance of Nintendo when in regards to big organizations supporting Super Smash Brothers. You need licensing and you need stream rights. And unfortunately, in the early days, everybody remembers Evo 2013, where the Nintendo Stream crisis happened and we almost got shut down. But a little known fact that not many people realize is that Brawl actually got dropped from MLG because of the difficulties of maintaining stream rights. So if people are wondering why we were from Melee 1 year for MLG, or roughly like 2 years actually, or is it 3? Anyway, MLG ran Melee for a few years, and then it switched to Brawl, and then after that it got dropped. Well, one of the big reasons was that Nintendo didn't grant stream rights, and back in the day, before Twitch and YouTube were big things, MLG actually sold rights to watch the stream. It was, I believe, $25 per year to watch their stream and also watch the VOD archives. And I'm not sure exactly the reason why Nintendo would not give MLG stream rights, but probably one of the main reasons was because they were selling viewership for the streams that Nintendo probably didn't like that. So actually, Nintendo was actually a big reason why MLG did not return to Smash in 2008 and 2009, the year after Brawl got dropped. So once again, Nintendo, a little behind, a little slow. Not really the best start in terms of maintaining a relationship with the community that loves Smash and the developers who seem to be cock blocking in every way, shape, and form. Now, to be fair, Nintendo has a lot of people who love video games, who grew up in arcades, who grew up with tournaments, who grew up in arcades. So from an individual standpoint, a lot of people within Nintendo actually love competing. They love the spirit of competition. They love esports, and they're not this depiction that Sakurai presents of competition where it's like, oh, if we want everybody to have fun, there shouldn't be a winner, there shouldn't be a loser. Melee is too competitive. We hate the game. Generally speaking, a lot of people within Nintendo as individuals actually like Smash as an esports. So I have to clarify that because a lot of people are like, well, Nintendo as a company hates everything. But keep in mind, a lot of individuals actually support the game. They tweet out, they watch, they go to events. They might be a little under the radar, incognito, but they love going to Smash events. So I just wanted to make that clear. So overall, if we're gonna fast forward to Evo 2013, not a good look for Nintendo. We made it on the front page of Reddit, Kotaku. We trended on Twitter, I believe, that year when the Nintendo Stream crisis happened. Not a good look. Overall, Nintendo, during that stretch of time, also, I believe, said they would never make a mobile game. So overall, there was a huge, disconnect between what I believe Nintendo thought the market was for video games and what actually people want. Now, to be perfectly fair, I actually want to highlight some of the positives about Nintendo. I'm not really saying like we always talk about Nintendo being negative, and granted, licensing and all this fun stuff, and it can get pretty annoying. But at the very least, there is some semblance of hope for the future. We go from 2008 and 2013, where Nintendo was actually trying to stop events, to we go to 2014 where we had that Smash 4 Invitational, and they actually, picked people from the community both for commentating and also to participate in the event to show hey, we want to showcase the new game, and this is our extension to you guys to say hey, we want to get involved in some way in making sure that the competitive grassroots community gets represented. And granted, though, the rules were not the greatest for competition, but you have to understand that this is a marketing ploy from Nintendo. They're going to make sure that all the characters are represented, so that's why they did the character draft. They want to make sure that items are displayed. They want to make sure that the final Smash is shown, as opposed to playing Battlefield or Final Destination, where there's not much movement, there's no items, and there's no final smashes like what we're used to. Nintendo wants to highlight cool aspects of the game. So to me, I think that's a pretty good compromise. A lot of people are like, well, that term, that invitation was stupid, they did the wrong rule set. But keep in mind, they want to show off the game. They want to show off all the features that casual players would love to get into. Now, granted, that tournament and the gameplay was a little bit disastrous because it ended up in a timeout and it wasn't a very good game. Now, Smash 4 fans, please don't crucify me, but the E3 build of Smash 4 was pretty bad, with the landing lag and everything. But it wasn't a really good look for the game. Now, over time, I have to say that Nintendo, granted there's the Bayonetta, DLC issues with the game, and Cloud, being oppressive in doubles and Bayonetta being really annoying to deal with in singles. We came from a day of hoo-haws with Diddy and Sheik being overpowered. And aside from adding those DLC characters, I actually think that Nintendo actually did a pretty good job in terms of balancing the characters and adding patches to fix the meta. It seemed like most of their changes made a lot of sense in terms of balancing the game and then also improving the game in general. And one of the moments I really want to remember or highlight is at Apex 2015. That was the first big event that Nintendo supported. They helped provide setups for gaming generations, which was a huge help actually in supporting the grassroots tournament scene. That build of Smash 4 was not very good. Landing lag was really bad. If you guys remember, Abadongo played Pac-Man. Very defensive game. Shielding was so overpowered, and it was one of the most boring events in Smash 4 history. I'm pretty sure most people don't remember, especially the audience watching this, because we're mostly Melee fans. But Nintendo improved a lot on the gameplay, and I think they were very intentional in terms of making shields less OP and making movement and offense a little bit more rewarding. So, as much as we can make fun of Nintendo for certain things, in terms of balance, other than Bayonetta and adding DLC, I think they did a really good job in changing the game to make it more watchable. So props to them for that. And over time, they've supported a lot more events, and some people see it as a net negative, but it's a partnership that's pretty much needed, because when you get to big boy sponsors that actually provide money, they're going to want Nintendo backing. They want to make sure that the event has the official rights to stream the game, and they have zero risk of getting shut down by Nintendo. So it's like a necessary evil for a lot of TOs, for the big ones especially. If they want to partner and get bigger budgets, they have to partner with Nintendo. So it's kind of like a necessary evil in some aspects. But to be fair, Nintendo did provide equipment, and they helped provide Genesis with some business deals with, I believe, Asus or Acer, some monitor company, to get cheaper monitors. So they are doing a handful of things here and there. And things are looking up. Like, they have the Nintendo VS account. They experimented with Splatoon and ARMS, and they're trying to run different campaigns to see how can they integrate into the market without ruining existing culture. So there's a really important comment that Reggie actually made a year ago, where he talked about what is Nintendo's involvement with the Smash community after Hungrybox called him out at Smash and Splash. And Reggie said, it seems like the community already runs pretty well. I don't know how we can help without interfering. And to me, in an ideal world, Nintendo supports. They provide large budgets, similar to what Riot Games does. It's actually a really important point to make here, because Nintendo, our culture as Smashers exists primarily because we were allowed liberty in terms of developing our culture and what we want from the game. Had Nintendo got involved early, we probably would have had a very different rule set. The Melee community probably wouldn't exist anymore, because Nintendo would say, hey, you guys have to play this new game, and we'd probably be cannibalized in favor of a new game if Nintendo had their hands on what they wanted the Melee community to do starting from day one. So allowing us free liberty to do whatever we want is actually, in some ways, to our benefit, because if you look at how Overwatch and Riot, or Blizzard and Riot handle things, they're very controlled about what their players can and cannot do. And granted, a lot of it's pretty good. You don't want a toxic culture. Sometimes you can get a lot more constrained, and the players don't tend to have personalities because they're worried about getting fined or having these things come up. Imagine, from the get-go, would even Respect Your Elders by Challenge exist had Nintendo been there from day one? Probably not, because it's not a family-friendly thing to necessarily do. So, I'm actually kind of in some ways happy that Nintendo isn't super involved and not micromanaging the community, because if they did, things would look very different for us. Granted, it would be nice to have developer support in some aspects. Having developer support isn't always a good thing for everything involved in the community. Now we look up ahead. Nintendo has a Twitter account with Nintendo Versus or Nintendo VS. They actively tweet out events, so they're doing little things. And granted, it is slow, and it's sometimes frustratingly slow sometimes for to see support. I'm actually happy that they're actually taking steps and collaborating and continuing to increase that support. And once again, I have to say there are a lot of people fighting for us within Nintendo. They love our scene, they love our events, but a lot of legal tape. And I have to add here that Smash Brothers is a particularly difficult game to manage because of all the IP. And that's part of the reason why I think Nintendo tried to push ARMS and Splatoon so hard, was because they own all the IP and it's all original IP. So they don't have to talk to the creator of Kirby or creator of Luigi or creator of Fire Emblem to see how should these characters represent themselves in the game, and what can they wear, what can they not wear, how should they depict themselves. There's a lot of little rules in terms of branding and in terms of marketing and in terms of what they can and cannot do with characters that are actually very restrictive. So, and it's a lot of collaborations. It can get pretty cumbersome. But with Splatoon and ARMS, it's new IP, it's a new self-contained game. So if they want the Splatoon characters, the Inklings, to do something, they can do it right away without having to go through a lot of hurdles and a lot of meetings. Same thing with ARMS. So who knows what's up ahead? The new Smash game is intriguing. I don't know what they're going to do, but it seems like, they're doing little steps. And granted, it is a little slow. I'm looking forward to see what Nintendo has in the future. I don't really know what that exactly entails, but maybe one day we'll see a circuit. One day we'll see something cool. Who knows? So those are my hopes, and this is kind of my optimistic kind of video on Nintendo for now, to say hey, even though there are many things I would change about how Nintendo handles us as a community, hey, at least they're trying and they're making baby steps towards helping us and helping the game move forward.